I'm pretty excited to review this one because I've consumed this man's work for half my life. Like, that's crazy. Like, since I was 12 or 13, middle school, I went to a public library back home and I would look for the bigger book of The Walking Dead. Yeah, I'd be excited to just borrow it, go home, and just dig right into it. I was just like, oh shit, what's gonna happen today? What is gonna happen? And I just read the final issue yesterday, and going through these 80 pages and then finally reading his letter to everyone, and his big thanks was just like, wow. Like, The Walking Dead has really impacted my life. Like, it was one of the first zombie franchises that got me into liking anything related to zombies, to be quite honest. Now Walking Dead has become a video game, its own TV show, even a movie's coming out soon. There's so much coming from it. The book was honestly something I tuned into every month. My thoughts on this ending, obviously spoilers, so if you don't like spoilers, please do get the fuck out of this video. Do not stay here. If you stay here, you're going to be spoiled. It was a good ending. There were a lot of things unexplained, obviously, but I think that's okay, like, because they did touch on basically every single character that survived. You see Rick's big statue and showing that, there is still hope for humanity, basically. I think it was great to see, great for Kirkman to just show basically all the characters that survived, or like all the significant characters that survived, and show where they are now and where the world is now. And it kind of gave me, it's really weird, it kind of gave me this Red Dead Redemption to sort of vibe. Everyone's on horses. Like, it seemed like the Wild Wild West. When you start, you come in, and Herschel, Maggie's son Herschel, was like in this like western area, and it just felt like this whole world was Red Dead Redemption 2-esque. I don't know. That's just how I felt. Like, and that point is obviously not the Western world we live in today. It's been pushed back a little bit, but they're still creating civilization, and they're creating railroads, they're creating trains, they're trying to connect people to each other. And then in the very end, when you get to see Andrea and Carl sitting there, and Carl's reading the book, telling the story, and it's this sort of meta, very meta moment of like, this is the world we live in, but there is hope for humanity, and this is the story of Rick Grimes. And I really like the ending. I think it was a great way for him to end it, and I don't even really have any rating for this. I just feel like incredibly blessed to have been able to read his work, and it was great. The part that I found very interesting, he was saying how back in issue 72, when they were in Alexandria, he was basically saying that he was planning on ending it there. When Rick was having his big speech, Rick would make his proclamation, and the speech would end with a big close-up on Rick's face. You turn the page, and Rick's face would be the same, only it was a statue. And you zoom out and see the full statue with some vines growing on the bottom of it, cracks forming, and you'd realize that it was quite old. We'd keep zooming out until we saw that the statue was in Alexandria, the same place where he gave the speech, but it was different. It was old and run down, broken windows, missing doors. We would keep zooming out until a zombie walked by, then another, and we see that Rick had brought them to Alexandria, given this grand speech, but rebuilding civilization, and succeeded to the point that they built a statue to honor him. But in the end, the dead won. Society crumbled again. This seemingly for good, and that was it. It was a terrible ending, bleak, sad, made the whole story pointless. What can I say? I was young, and most of the endings I wrote or came up with back then were pretty bleak. I'm glad that it didn't end at this point of issue 72. He kept going with it, and he pushed through, and yeah, and look what we got now. I mean, granted, there were definitely a lot of filler parts in the past couple, months, and this past year or so in the comic, but thank you, Robert Kirkman. Thank you so much, and excited to see what your next project is and where it takes you. So that was my review for The Walking Dead final issue. Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.